Everyone's doing well. Hope the stream goes good today. It looks like I'm blue screened or green screened, however, behind me. But I promise you that's the real background. I have no way of... I guess I could walk back there. And you could see that it's a real background, but it does look green screened or blue screened, but it's just the lighting. I don't know if that's a good thing. Does that mean I have really good lighting or really bad lighting? I'm not sure. But yeah, I do look like I'm superimposed onto something. I promise you I am not. I guess I could move the camera, right? That would be hard to fake with a green screen. So, it is a real background behind me. That's real. So today we're going to continue on our quest. Our tactics quest here. You know what? I'm going to go tell my friends I'm streaming. I got friends that aren't on the internet. Do 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 do. Well, I got friends. Give them my old internet address. The WW's Totino Pizza Roll. We got a new thing. We got a new thing in the chat. New thing. And that is, we have our first official emoticon. Our first official emote. I'm going to let someone special crescent it if they make it to the stream. I don't know if they'll be able to. I honestly don't know. I don't know. I didn't even tell them I was streaming right now. So, but maybe somebody will find it before then. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows where thoughts come from? So let's get going here. We've got this battle staging scene here. This is where we actually show the level as it were. And we started working on some cursor stuff. And right away when I started working with it, I'm like, this is wrong. We need to rework some of this. And so that's what I want to work on. Right now, for instance... Right now, we're storing the cursor location in battle staging. I almost think it should go in game. We have this highlight thing, but we also need to have a cursor position, which means there's a few things we need to do here. And highlight is its own. See, I don't like that either. Highlight's just a spatial. Why is it outside? I don't think it needs to be. I don't think it needs to be. I don't think so. Because why do I need to give it a new spatial? Why? What if I just go like this? And then we say, you're a spatial. Yeah, I got friends in low places. And when we do an instance of the highlight? Is that the problem? I don't know. Put the highlight in here, in game. Const. Call it highlight. Why are we instancing this from a scene? I think some of this can be changed. That's what I'm saying here. So we're going to do a little bit of cleanup. We have a spatial with a mesh instance. That's what that is. Okay. So that's fine. That's fine. Here we're going to go highlight, spatial. We don't have to specify types here. We don't have to be so strict about that, but we're going to. And then we'll do the instance here like that. And then we're just going to pop this out like that. Add child highlight. Add child highlight. So we have to do that so it exists. See, I don't know that I like this. And highlight comes in, transform, get node, mesh instance. See, I don't know that we need this. Yeah, I'm just getting rid of everything. And then we have another one here. And I think this is going to cause a duplicate to happen here, but we'll see. We'll see. So sound, audio, everything revamped for the stream. I'd like to look up some things eventually. I'm doing everything wrong. Nah, I wasn't talking about this. I'm talking about real life. It's like, welcome to Depression Stream 9000. Let's do our battle chooser. We're going to load that up. And we need, you know what? We're going to need a base testing thing here soon. Too many arguments for add highlight. I expected at most 2. And that's on line 33. And that's happening in our battle chooser here. Is it happening on battle? Stage grid map. Stage grid map. So let's go to stage grid map on template for stages. So we don't need this in theory. And I guess to test that, we could just load this stage. Okay, so it did break things. I broke it. So let's go back. And let's see if this is the problem. And if it is... Too many... Oh, we got this scene tree running. Nothing. Output 32. Too few arguments. Game. Too few arguments. What are we talking about? Stage. 32. Too few. Template. Stage grid map 32. Too few arguments. Ah, see, I gotta reload the project. This is Godot being Godot. There it is. There she is. Beautiful highlights. Okay, so. So this whole system, the way that I've got it set up right now, is going to create a bunch of orphan nodes. We don't want that. Just to be sure, let's close the stage. Let's get rid of this add child. See, because I don't think we need to add it to the node, to the whole thing. Yeah, we don't. Why is this here at all, though? That is weird. This is weird. That is weird. That is unexpected. Okay, it's not there for a 2D scene. Don't save. Now it's gone. 3D scene. There it is again. What? How is this in the editor? It's because it's not getting cleared out. The spatial instance is being added. So if I went to here, is it here? Well, it could be. It could be buried under stuff, and we wouldn't know. What if I loaded another stage? Like this one. Yep. Good grief. Okay. Okay. So today's going to be a little bit of a weird day. I'm seriously only going to be working on well, instead of battle cursor, let's call it battle, or instead of battle menu, we'll call it battle cursor, and then we'll save that. That'll be the name of the stream. And yeah. You know what? I gotta open up Chatty in case I'm missing any chats. Which I doubt it. Stream's looking good though. Stats are looking good. Let's give it something to send out. Kilobytes are good. Let's do a full page for page change. Send them bytes, huh? Yeah, it's looking fine. Stats on the stream are golden. Only 15 drop frames this whole time. All right. So what is the deal with this highlight mesh instance? We're applying. Yeah. Paintbrushes? We got trip to Texas. Presents. Let me guys, I'll be right back. I gotta help my daughter. All right. Sorry about that. Let's get back in it, huh? So I'm just not sure why some of this is doing what it's doing. And I'm going to start ripping out some things that I don't think need to be there until I understand it better. Colin, how's it going? Oh, you got to do it. You got to do it. I've never done any. I've never done. I got to get the chat going in the thing. How do you do emotes? Or should we wait? Oh, it shows it. It shows it. Nice. It's there. It's waiting for us. It's locked and loaded. All right. Yeah, Colin, I was about to actually start really screwing with the stuff that you wrote. Because I need it to be a little more... Yay! It works. It looks like I've got a green screen behind me, huh? But it's totally legit. It's a real background. It's just the lighting. I got my lighting all weird, or I guess it's, you know what? I'm going to turn this off so I have a bit more of a black, like, yeah. I look super serious. I don't know. Maybe I should blow it out more. Oh, no worries. No worries. By the way, can I make my light brighter? Let's see. Now it's as bright as she gets. Yeah, that we don't want that. And then there's this for the color temp. Whoa. I look like I'm hurl. There we go. It's more like it. I guess I could get it closer to my person to bring. Whoa, see, I'm blowing myself out now. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, you know what? We'll get our secondary light on. There we go. Yeah, we're going to try to make the cursor. We're doing cursor movement right now. And we're going to try and get, I'm going to probably be rewriting this a little bit. You even have a note here about, I need something for the cursor and then also something else for highlighting, right? But it's this instancing of the scene for the highlight and that mesh that I want to try and get rid of if it's possible. So this is the scene, the mesh instance is what we're talking about. And really the only time you're using this is down here. Here where you do a get node for a mesh instance. I'm wondering if there's any reason why we couldn't just create a mesh instance, although I imagine the point of this is that's the thing you're moving around. But I could be wrong. I don't think it is. New cell ID. Cursor orientation. World position. And then that's what we set here. So this is really it. And this is the part that confuses me, is how we're assigning mesh instance to all this stuff. This is the representation of the cursor, as I understand it. No. Yeah. Oh, no worries, no worries. So yeah, we need a cursor position. I see we're setting it here with new highlight position. Okay, so that's the position. But let's see, can we just instantiate a mesh instance? So instead of this highlight get node, highlight transform origin mesh instance. Transform origin. So this, oh, this is the spatial for it. Okay. So you're moving the spatial for the mesh instance. You're grabbing the mesh instance. And then you're moving that around. I get it. Yeah, I think I understand what you're doing. I just want to, what I want to make sure is that when I write this cursor code, that I'm writing it for, I'm future-proofing it. I don't want to have to do a bunch of work to make sure this is like going to work for everything that I want to do. So I'm understanding what you're doing here more. So this variable represents this that you're getting. Then for the mesh, you're setting so I might do this differently because you're doing everything to highlight anyways. So for instance, I believe it should be possible to do this still because we're not going to be moving mesh instance around. So this would be valid. So we just got rid of 2 lines, right? No, just 1. But it seems like that's more readable to me, the way that I'm thinking about this. Okay. Maybe. But I think I can make this work for me. One thing that would be nice is to, on a spatial, theoretically, just throw in a bunch of mesh instances to represent an area. But I'm going to take a look at, I'm just going to keep studying this for a little bit. I still can't believe that emoticon works. Did it show up in the chat? That's great. That's great. Well, now I got to think of future emotes as well. But that's really the only thing that's like been a meme in my channel, or like a repeated thing that I know about that I can think of. So on a cursor level, okay, I think I know what to do with a bunch of this. But I'm just wondering, should I do it inside the game? or not. And how should I handle the cursor? What should be handling the cursor with the structure that I have? Yeah, that's my plan. But yeah, for sure, I agree with that as well. I think where I differentiate from a lot of people is there's the dry principle, but I find that concept really is only for finitely small things. And that the whole like don't repeat yourself thing of like I'm going to write this code so I can use it for everything. Cuz dry and then solid or whatever gets mixed in together, and then suddenly you've got this like this thinking where you're like trying to preemptively like write something that's forever future proof, and I think that's a huge mistake, right? So I think you've got a solid understanding of this. Like I can read this and I understand it. But yeah, for me it's the same kind of thing. It's just I got to figure out in my mind where it should live. Like if I start slipping input handlers, there's a way to get inputs not to let's look at that up. That's what we're going to learn. We're going to get this to be perfect. This is going to be a lot of work today just for a cursor, but it's going to be good. There's a way. I've been learning a lot more about input events, and there is something about you can grab the input event and say don't send it anymore. Like don't spread this anywhere else. You can basically say like I got this, and don't let anyone else get it. But it's specifically for the it's not just input, it's like the GUI input and all that stuff. Let's check control. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm going to have the base singleton, and part of me is like, should I put it in there? Because there, besides the title screen and some menus that won't show the battles, it really could be handled at the very top. And that would make sense to me in my mind. Me do it. Do it. Yeah. Here comes my daughter. Hey. Oh, it's very pretty. Thank you, sweetie. Is it dry yet? With watercolor, you gotta let it dry first. That's what the tape is for. It doesn't start to, it's gonna. So the medium watercolor requires you to let. Put it here. Okay. I love it. Yeah. This function is control GUI input. Simply override it in your control. No processing needs to be set. And this is what virtual method. Okay, yeah. To be implemented by the user, use this method to process and accept inputs on UI elements. See accept event. This is it. Marks that an input event is handled. Once you accept an input event, it stops propagating, even to nodes listening. Nodes that are listening to unhandled input or unhandled input key. So this is what I'm wondering is, should I... Called when an input event hasn't been consumed by input or any GUI control item. I feel like I should be using unhandled input more than I'm using input. Now I'm going to read about input. The input event propagates up through the node tree until a node consumes it. The input event propagates up through the node tree until a node consumes it. Up through the node tree. Up through the node tree. If it is only called, it is only called if input processing is enabled, which is done automatically. If this method is overridden, it can be toggled with set process input. Enables or disables input processing. This is not required for GUI controls. Enabled automatically if input is overridden. To consume this input event and stop it propagating to further to other nodes, set input as handled can be called. Yeah. For gameplay input, unhandled input and unhandled key input are usually a better fit as they allow the GUI to intercept the inputs first. Yes, I should be using unhandled input. So we're both learning something here for sure. Rather than input. Because input's like, input would be for your hidden, input would be what you would want for like your secret console thing, right? For your cheat codes and for your things where you always want to be checking that for those inputs to have occurred. For your like control shift something and then something secret happens or whatever. It's almost like you could think of input as it's probably better to use that if you're making some sort of program rather than a game. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go through and rewrite all my inputs to be unhandled inputs so that my GUI, when it's intercepting, golly, I'm wondering for this game if I should even be using input at all. I guess so for like camera. Because, okay, let's think about this. Because sometimes, all right, let's go back to control here. Marks an input event as handled. So, accept event. Marks an input event as handled. So the only time I really should be doing that is when I know that okay, I'm starting to get this. So let's look at unhandled input event one more time. This comes from Node. Yeah, this is what we should be using for practically everything that I'm going to be doing for the game stuff, except for the GUI. And then the GUI will be in front of that. Well, every tutorial I've ever seen on YouTube is just flat out wrong. And see, that's why getting started on those things can really lead you astray. Find in files, we're going to look for underscore input. Okay, there's only 2 so far. And we're going to overwrite those with unhandled input. Okay, so already we're learning something. That is good. Okay. Note to self. Okay, so we don't care about, let's save tactics and close it. We're back on battle staging. And again, we're thinking about cursor input. Is cursor input... Did you get to look at input actions to map keys to actions on different types of controllers, etc.? Yeah. I never call inputs by their I don't know what you call it, by their signifiers or whatever. I use the input map and throw together if this is what you mean. But I do think it's funny because Godot makes remapping in their system so simple, but then leaves you for the heavy lifting of being able to do that in the game. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like if we want it to be that, oh, we want to have the player remap cursor right to something else, that's something you got to build everything out for. Right? Oh, so the unhandled inputs works for mapped inputs too. Yeah, it just passes the input event. So there's like a hierarchy of input is first, input GUI is second, and then unhandled input happens after that. So generally, if you're going to have a GUI interface that handles inputs, you want unhandled input to be your game actions after that. So it's like they added input in case you ever needed to override GUI. But unfortunately it's called input. And so, and then they call the real input or whatever, what you should really consider as handling inputs, they call that unhandled input, which is a little misleading. It's descriptive, but it also, like, when I read that, I think, oh, that's for everything else. Frack, that would have saved me some headaches yesterday. Were you, cause I've actually done this where I've had like variables that I flip on and off to try and handle the GUI and stuff. So now I feel like an idiot. I'm there with you. Yeah. For gameplay input, this and unhandled key input are usually a better fit than input, as they allow the GUI to intercept the events first. And well, since we know that game is a node, it's going to be in every scene because it's a singleton. It feels like that's a good place to handle some of this. So, or the battle system, one or the other. Now, if we go to tactics, our main overview here for stage loads here, we're going to have our own oh my gosh. I get it though, because you're just like, there's got to be a way. And then based on your Google search, you know, you end up with all these, like, it'll set you the wrong way. And I'm totally not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because it's just like, of course. Now I'm trying to find because we got battle staging. I know I started, it's in the singletons. I started writing a battle system. So maybe the input for cursor and everything should be in battle system. But no, this is for handling the battle, like, events. So it really feels like it should be up a game. So, yeah. That's what we're going to do. We can always move it. It's just, we're creating work for ourselves if that ends up having to happen. Now, I want to show you guys something cool. Look at this. Because now these are my overrides. So I can type comment. Boo! Overrides. Method overrides. So, isn't that pretty? And then there's our unhandled inputs. Okay. And then this is going to be in the GUI, not in unhandled input. So we're going to go back over here. And then, oh man, I'm about to break so much. I'm breaking so much right now. It's fine though. This parent control here is going to be the thing that will be for this particular thing. So battle staging control, we'll call it. Extends control, and then we're going to go func input. Is it GUI input? How do you do with control? There's the accept event inputs. GUI input is GUI input. This is my daughter's man, my white balance is off. I need to fix that. See if I can fix that real quick. She just wrote that or drew this. Let's see, white balance is fluorescent. No, that's not right. Daylight? No. Shade? No. Automatic? See, that works because I have a piece of white up on the... That's fine. That'll work. Definitely not fluorescent. Tungsten. Let's try that. No. I look like I'm going to hurl. So we'll go with automatic. I do look a little pale with automatic. But as soon as I throw this on here, does it get better? I don't know. There you go. Or should I keep it? It's for me? Okay, I'm going to put it underneath your watercolor. She also did this. And now the white balance is we're too blue. Well, I painted that blue. Oh, I just mean the color of the camera. The lighting in it is blue. That doesn't look like my... just looks off. So we're going to set the white balance. That white balance. There we go. This should be as close to reality as possible. Yeah, it was Vader. It was Vader and Princess Leia. She's... And there's the Death Star is up in the corner. There's the Death Star. And then there's Vader and Leia. I love her representation. I love your representation of Vader's mask, Gemma. I know, it looks great. From memory, it's really good. Okay, so going back to battle staging, unhandled input, we're going to steal again. And then we're going to go to control, and then control will handle the input events for these things here. And then I suppose what we need to do is, because we're doing the highlight, we need to get our parents grid map. But will it be our true parent because we're a canvas layer in here? And that feels wrong. Now, everything's wrong. Let's do on ready get parents and see what we get. Okay, we're breaking everything right now. So we should expect a lot of stuff not to work as we do this. 158, it's saying unexpected identifier as member. So I don't think it likes this. So do we have to go like this? No. It should be. I've done this before. I'm not crazy. You can get the child somehow by doing something like this. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's try printing highlights. Cobalt, how's it going? 58. So definitely doesn't like that. I thought for sure you could do that. Let me see about highlights. There's the node path. Can I just go like this? I think maybe that's it. Let's try that. There we go. Okay. So that's fixed. How's it going, Cobalt? Off topic, did you ever try to write C# scripts in Godot? If I haven't answered that, the answer is no, I haven't. Well, actually, technically, yes. Because with C# you can talk to Windows OS and get a bunch of information from it. And I thought about writing some programs in Godot using C#. So not games, but programs. I still look blue. Let's mess around with this white balance. Oh, that's better. We'll keep that. So, but not too much. Like with the mono stuff and all that, not too much. So yeah, all right, cursor position isn't declared in scope. This is on game 6.7. So that's happening here, right? Because we don't cursor position. So now we're going to throw cursor position into our game. Oops. Okay. So get rid of that. Get rid of this. Go back to battle staging. Run this again. Save isn't declared in the current scope. Battle staging control line 8. Okay, so Lots of stuff breaking, and that's fine. And this save should be handled by the game as well. That should not be handling. That should not get handled by anything else. So that'll be game.save. And now I can grab that here. I'm breaking. Yep, I'm breaking everything. This is the way. It's true. Yeah, I mean, that's the way I do it. I just prove, like, can I do this? Yes. Okay, let me do it the right way then. So then we have this game add highlight, cursor position, all of this stuff. And then we're getting use cells from grid map. So yeah, exactly. No, that's the way to program, in my opinion. Like you can do a lot of, for me, just solo programming, that's just what I do. It's like, I could spend all this time prototyping every single thing. And I really did when I started working out how to make this game. But when you get to brass tacks and you actually start making it, there's so many things that you cannot predict that you need to account for, that I find that the best method for me personally. But I mean, everyone has their own way, I suppose. Battle staging line 14. What are we talking about? If save and so save doesn't exist, right? If game save and game save party size is greater than character. Okay, let's reload. Battle staging controls line 8. Game.save. Reload. All right, so we're back to this. And now our inputs aren't working anymore. So we got to get those back into it. And we're handling it through a GUI input event. And I'm realizing this is our other problem, is that how do we make sure the GUI is active? Because these input events aren't going to get hit until the GUI is active, which is good. But now we actually need to we need to really set the GUI as active. So when I click here, that's not doing it. Canvas layer is our parent. Yeah, exactly. Heck yeah. I put you on the first one. Yep. So how do we make sure the GUI is active? Because now it's not collecting inputs. And this is a real thing, right? If I do this, it's not going to work, right? See that? This is what's concerning me. Because right now, if I were to write func GUI, oh, there it is. Okay. You're famous. Definitely, when I'm actually playing the game, I'm going to be naming all the characters after everybody in the stream. Or when the game's actually coming to fruition. How do we make the input? How do we make the GUI active? Let's go back to custom GUI controls. Controls are provide a few helper input events. There are a few tutorials about input before this one, but it's worth mentioning that controls have a special input method that only works for them. Mouse pointer is over the control. Button was pressed over the control. Control or keyboard focus via control focus mode. Control provides keyboard joypad focus via control. A button was pressed over the control. Mouse pointer is over the control. So this should be printing something when I have the mouse over it, but it ain't. Okay. Let's see. Control focus mode. Get focus mode. How do I see what just happened? Chilinger, thanks for the follow. Focus mode. The focus access mode for the control. None, click, or all. So do I need to, does it carry down? Focus mode. Ah! Control focus mode. We're learning. It's just doing all the GUI stuff. It's like kind of slow. Pass on mod. Enables you whether the input should propagate when you close this control as a modal. Focus. Here it is. Mode. So if we do all, let's do all, save the scene. And now is it collecting mouse? Negative. So focus mode isn't what we're talking about. The focus access mode for the control. Only one control can be focused at a time, and it will receive the keyboard. It'll receive keyboard signals. Okay, let's think about this. If a child says it wants control, is that going to F things up? Because maybe there is a way to ask who has control, so we could do that. So let's search focus. Only one control node can be in keyboard focus. Only the node in focus will receive keyboard events. To get focus, call grab focus. Okay. So we'll try that. We'll grab focus on ready. And see if that does it. Ah! Keypad. Heck yeah. Okay, we got it. We got it. All right. Now, we got to be very careful. UI was his favorite thing to do. I was watching a guy's Twitch stream with a guy yesterday who was working on UI, and it looks so nice. I told him I always struggled with it. He told me that UI was his favorite thing to do. It's hard to believe. Colin says, my day job is in UI development, so I'm not going to say anything. Reminds me of another Friends episode with the gynecologist. He's like, you know how, like, if you're a mechanic, you come home and the last thing you want to do is work on a car. All right. So we got focus. So now we can do cycle left and right. So let's just print that we're getting that event. So cycle left. So grab focus, guys. Boys and girls, grab focus is what you want if you're trying to manually get control focus. This will happen automatically, as I understand it, when somebody clicks on a control button or something like that. That'll happen. It'll be the thing that it's grabbed focus on. But in our case, since we have this parent control system so far, that's going to be the thing that's going to be handling, caring about inputs. Whoops. Wrong thing. So let's just see. Cycle left. Okay, so we're good now. Oh, the other thing, my I can use the controller again because it's working again. I had to restart Windows to get that working, but obviously I couldn't do that yesterday because I was streaming. If I had another computer that was handling the video and everything for the stream, then we would have been fine. One day, if I'm doing like a legit setup, I'll have two computers, one that's doing the stream and then one that I'm doing everything on, and we'll have inputs going into the one for the stream. But that's not happening right now. Because then I could theoretically, like, my computer that I'm working on could, like, Windows reset and the stream would still go, you know? But I don't have money. I don't have money. That's not going to happen. Okay. So what we're doing is, what I'm doing, just so to make it clear, is I'm moving where our inputs are being collected from and what is handling our cursor, and I'm scooting them around in where I feel they should be in the structure of the entire game code, I guess you could say. Yesterday, we proved that we could move the cursor around in a logical way, but now we need to actually put that where it should go so that in the future, I will be able to just say, put the cursor here, and we'll be good, regardless of what we've loaded in or anything like that. Because who knows what we're going to want to do in the future besides that, but really it should exist in another place. Because the way I was doing it is the code was existing solely in this battle staging area. My eyes look like I'm looking, like I look like but it's because I'm so close to the, and I keep looking at, okay, that's part of my problem. Let me get rid of this. I'm going to close this on my camera. Now my eyes should look like I'm looking at you. I was looking at myself in the little display thing on my camera. And so my eyes were, one of my eyes was kind of like looking here and then looking there. Anyways, that's what's going on right now. That's why I literally have nothing to show for it, but we're getting there. So we were going to cycle the actors because the data is in. Okay. So really all of this code, besides the starting position for the cell, yeah, all of this can get ripped out. This is crazy. What kind of GUIs are you doing? Are you doing like web stuff or UIs? If you can't talk about it, it's fine. I know some jobs have like pretty strict NDA stuff. So we're getting into first actor. used cells, shuffle, add highlight, front. So this code here, we'll put in battle staging. Game save, actor, character, and this is from the scene tree below. Okay, so now we should be working on cycling our characters again. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So now when I hit the button, and then my controller's working, I've got this lovely. This is a beautiful controller, by the way. It's a wired Xbox controller, but it'll work on PC as well as Mac, and it's like the SNES controller combined. The faces are like the SNES controller. But the design is like the PlayStation controller, and it's just really nice. And it's got these fly buttons here, whatever they're called, and then you can override on the controller a button and remap the buttons from the controller itself, regardless. It has like built-in software. Stealth raid while I'm live. Oh goodness, I'm just showing a controller. So anybody joining the stream from Obsidian, watching in Obsidian stream, I'm as nerdy as Obsidian because I'm talking about a controller. I'm like professing my love to it. I'm very close to kissing it, but we got to keep this PG stream. So the other nice thing though too, one last thing I'll say about the controller, and let's get the scene camera in here. How's it going, everybody on Obsidian stream? Let's see. It's got these. Come on, camera. Come on. It's because it sees my face. Come on. Come on. Come on. Anyways, it has a headset input on there, and a mute switch, which is also very nice to have. But I love it. I love this controller. It just gave me some problems yesterday. I ran a firmware update, did a Windows restart. We're golden. Major firmware update. It was like 0.5 versions behind. So they do good stuff, those 8-bit dough guys. Okay, so like I said, we've been refactoring the GUI stuff, understanding handling inputs. From now on, going forward, I'm going to be using unhandled input exclusively because I've learned about the hierarchy of input managements. So that'll almost be the only way I handle inputs for game stuff. That way GUI will be above it in all cases. It depends on the game, though. Sometimes I might not want to do that. Need to pop out so I don't run off viewers. Maybe I'll legit raid you if you're still streaming. All right, sounds good. All right. Bye, guys. See you later. Okay. So, back to what we were doing. Oh, and then you know what? I'm going to return the flavor. The flavor flav. I'm going to give a shout out to Obsidian for you guys in the stream. So shout out Obsidian BLK. Obsidian Black. He's a cool guy. He's a cool cat. He's my backdoor programmer. Wait, that doesn't sound good. Back seat. There we go. Oh boy. Don't clip that. Please don't clip that. Backdoor programmer. What? Back seat. But he's a good one. Backdoor programmer. Okay. Oh my God. No, I didn't say that. Okay. Colin, so Colin said, I work on a lot of web stuff. Yeah, not super fancy UI most of the time. Yeah. UI on the web is tough too, because you got to do all that accessibility stuff, depending on what you're working on. And that can be just a nightmare. I didn't dive into GUI's UI system though. I'll have to at some point. I've yet to find a great UI system in the game engines I've tried, unfortunately, still. I'm starting to understand Godot's system. I wish that they would gray box certain things when you're doing specific when you're doing like containers and stuff, but I also simultaneously now that I'm starting to understand it, I realize why they don't. Yeah. And I'm the thing that I find difficult to wrap my head around with the Godot GUI is how to really I'll use the word correctly animate GUI elements. Because I'm finding that to be one of the most difficult things to correctly do in Godot. Because it feels like everything should be within a GUI hierarchy scene in the scene structure. And when you do that, I find that moving those elements around dynamically, if you're wanting to animate, is a little janky for my tastes. Like, part of me wishes that you could disassociate and just be like, just trust me. I just want to have this thing kind of go like and do this thing, but have it still really exist over here in the GUI like margins and everything. But I'm going to move it around the way I want it to, but pretend like it's actually here. I kind of wish you could do that, because then all my problems would go away. Yeah. Kind of like how you just animate in a game in the first place. Okay. So now that we have that fixed, now we're going to go to this game code here, and we're going to try to somehow correctly communicate the cursor position to do the highlighting with. So what we could do, one thing we could do is, because we're only going to have one grid map, maybe. What we could do is make it so you assign a grid map to the game, and then we don't need to pass that anymore. So literally, we're just passing position. So like in battle staging, on ready would say game grid map equals our grid map. And then instead of that, it would look like this. But that's the cursor. So really, we want to rip that out. And then we want to set immediate mode UI already. And I suppose if you want to do that with nodes, you could, right? But then you do lose out on controls are weird, and you lose out on GUI input if you're not using control. Yeah, I'm with you. So we're assigning the battle the grid map that we're creating. We're assigning that to the game code, so the game knows what grid map we're looking at when we're going to move the cursor around. Or we don't, we keep it the same, where we always give it the grid map. But if we do it this way, now when we do our controls for where to move the cursor, yeah. So we're still, sorry, I'm still looking at, so that's the left and rights for the staging control. This is battle staging. What happened to our, where did I put that? Oh, it's in here. It's in here. Okay. We're getting there. We're getting there. Sorry, a little bit of my brain is add highlight. We don't even need to reference game because we are game. Now we don't need grid map because in here grid map would already exist. So now we're going like this. And now we just have the position. Method overrides. Okay, so this is a private. So we do call defer for the load battle scene, but it's a private, so we're going to keep it like this. Load battle scene will be here. Add highlight starting to look like it's going to be private, and it's not going to be called highlight. Okay. So I'm definitely breaking things. There's no doubt about it. Battle staging. This is all just going to break. Okay, so we have cursor position. Okay. So this is this feels recursive. Let me check something. This is going to bomb out. Yeah, it's not going to show it. Stage is like, what are you doing to me, man? But let me do a default empty spatial. Ah, see, I do got it backwards. It's based on our facing direction of the camera. And in this case, for some reason, battle staging, stage, and then we have the grid map. And our X is pointing that way. But when we do a new one, Z is going that way. Let's do another new one. Oops, not a 2D scene. Oh, you know what I could really go for? See, now Zed's going this way. What the heck? Why? Don't save. But this seems like the way that it actually is. And then if we go here, we're just totally wrong. It should be like this. Okay. So camera gimbal is, yeah, we're on the, oh, see, we have a rotation degrees. Is that setting us, is that on our height? I believe it is. Let's open up a camera gimbal scene. Size. Spatial. Transform is 45. Okay. Sorry guys. I'm getting myself so conflated. Because what I'm trying to figure out right now is this loop here that I'm doing is basically looking for, based on the direction we're expecting to move the cursor, relative to the camera position, is there a cell that we can go to next to show? And yeah, if I don't have my phone on me. I gotta double check my texts really quick just to make sure. Of course it did. So yeah, we've got this loop where we're trying to determine where to put the cursor position based on the coordinate where the camera is. Now, if we go back to, let's see if we can even, let me see if we can load. So we've got battle staging, but then we also have in our test area, we have battle chooser. And can we load right now? We can't. Expected 1 at most. Stage map, grid map. So let's look at stage grid map, which is this. And here we're trying to add a highlight. And in this case, it's saying, what are you doing to me? So on ready, we need to say game. See, I'm not sure if I like this. Grid map equals self. And then set starting positions. This happens. Get cell item on base. No line. I'm breaking so much right now. It's insane. The grid map's null because it's not ready yet. So we have to do can we do on ready for the export? Is that a thing? No. So I don't think this approach is going to work for the grid map. Because I'm going to be juggling too much of... whether something's ready or not. But this really should be something different altogether. I'm really sorry about this. I'm apologizing for this. It's just funny. This is going to be funny. Because this is add highlight. Add highlight. How are we going to know what the hell we're up against? It is. It is. It's just crazy to think, okay, so our setter is firing before our ready. That shouldn't be possible. All right, let me go back here. I'm gonna put it back because I don't believe that this is impossible. So we're gonna say, because we're set starting positions after. So game.gridmap equals self, because we're a grid map. And you're welcome. Yeah. That's one good thing about watching other people work too. Non-existent get sol item on nil. So let's pause this set. And it's still happening. And we're going to so this is still happening. It's just happening before ready. Now, in the actual game code, we're deferring a load. We know the starting positions already. We're instancing the scene and setting the starting positions before we add the scene, and that's when the ready call happens. So this is why this is happening. So what we should do, or what we could do, is we can instance the scene, add it to the scene tree, and then do the setter, so that we call it in that order, and that should solve this problem, because by that time we'll have set the grid map already. So let's see. No. Why? Now, it's possible I need to actually reload the project, because this stuff is weird with singletons. So let's try that. And we'll see if we're working now. No, it's still nil. So that didn't do it. Did we save this? We did. Add it to the active scene as a child of root. Starting positions. We have to give it the starting positions. What happens if we just take this away? Yeah, it is. And I didn't have a problem with this before until I'm trying to rewrite things so that it's the problem with this grid map. Let me do a print for ready. So we're not hitting ready before the setter fires, even though. So another possibility is to delay the execution of the setter, so that we say Because I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Object. I know what it is. I know that I'm doing something a little strange here anyway, so mayhaps I shouldn't. I'm starving. Yeah. It's delay, right? Call deferred. Okay, so we're gonna do a setter, a deferred setter here. So we're gonna say on the current scene, we're gonna do call deferred, and we're gonna do set starting positions to starting positions. And maybe we'll fix the problem this way. Still nil. Okay, so for sure if I don't set this, we're gonna load, right? Still nil. What's calling it? Line 32 on stage grid map. So this is getting fired. Ready still isn't firing. So somehow this is still, so just an instantiation. That's what it is. Okay, fine. Okay, I get it. So if it's instantiation, we'll just override init to set the game grid map to self on init. And then we don't have to do any of this hairy stuff here. And we go like that. Keep everything back the way it was. If init fires, let's just, here's the other thing I'll do to make sure is we'll print hello. And let's try again. No, and it did not fire. And that is because why? Instance. So instance must not fire init. Where's instance from? If object's the top, where does instance come from? Is that a node thing? Where the hell's instance from? We're deep in it. Maybe, okay. What the hell are our values that we're getting? Right? Because how are we even getting values when this happens? We are getting values. Okay. So this is some sort of instantiation thing. So in theory, if I really wanted to, I could set the grid map here. And that should solve the problem. But I really don't want to do that. Yeah. That fixed it. So now we're getting a different error, and that's fine. I really don't want to do this. This is ridiculous. My note to myself says, this shouldn't be here. Fix this. 162 mesh. Add highlight. Invalid get index mesh instance on base spatial. Okay, so it doesn't like that. If we set it back to the $sign though. And so this might be highlight. Do we have a preload for highlight, but we do not have, we're creating an instance of it. Okay. Mesh instance on spatial. Let's load this. Boom. Now we're farting completely because it doesn't like this. I could have sworn there was a way to reference children using dot notation and not having to get node. Yeah, I could have sworn though that there was a way to do I could have sworn. Let's look at the error we're actually getting. Okay, so if we do mesh instance and we go like this, it's saying invalid get index mesh instance on base spatial. Let's check the scene, which is this. Can I load it from here? No. No, it's here. Highlight. Game stage. Highlight. I'm spelling it right. So yeah, I guess I do need to get node. I could have sworn. I could have sworn. Okay. So we're back. Now here's something that we don't need to do, funnily enough, is if we go back to the game code here, we're highlighting every single cell. We don't actually want to do that. Instance, starting position, battle staging. So we need to check. This is funny because I have those. Okay. All right. So I was rewriting that to fix the stage grid mat issue. So now if we were to go, I'm sorry, this is, I must look like a lunatic right now. Invalid get index mesh instance on base. So now this is broken for looking at the stage, but now in the battle chooser we're okay. And the battle chooser, the reason why we even see the highlight is because we're adding a child in this. We don't want to do that. Okay, so what we need to do is get a highlight array and then dump it. Because this is firing. So this is the problem. Okay, so for now I'm gonna do this. We're not gonna do the highlighting now there for now. So if we load this up, it shouldn't show the highlights anymore, right? Okay, so now I'm only gonna concern myself right now with getting the cursor stuff going. I knew this was gonna be like a 3-hour thing. I just knew it. I knew it. But I gotta get this right. Now here's my question. Okay. So we're loading. Yeah, exactly. That's the plan. I mean, there's a couple of ways of doing it because I could just make them visible or not, right? So, there's like a couple of ways to do it. For instance, I could theoretically make a mesh for every position on the grid map, and then just set them all to be visible off, right? And then only flip them on, when I want them to be on. So that's one way to do it. And that's probably the best way to do it. And that's a lot like what you were describing a little bit about how they were doing the highlights, and they had their own separate, basically mesh map of highlighting positions or cursor positions, and essentially just flipping them on and off when they needed to. I'm starting to think that's probably the best way to do it. So really what we would do is we would just feed it the grid map. So when we'd put a setter on the grid map for the game singleton, when you feed it the grid map, it goes and builds out and goes, okay, here's all of the potential highlight positions. And then you can just say whether or not you want them on or off. I think that's the way to do it. Or a way to do it that doesn't involve cycling through this code all the time, right? We only run through it once to build it out. The scenarios that wouldn't work is if we had, and this is something I've actually talked to my friend about as a game idea, is if we had it where the terrain changes. In that case, we'd fire this off every time or only on the cells that have changed. And then that would build the new height. So that's another possibility. But I think for now, the best thing to do would just to just build that array out and then just flip it on and off and say, okay, this is the one I want highlighted. And then we could also give it a color or something too. And then we would only be, we could highlight the material, change the albedo color. So doodah. So we'd add them as childs with shaders, etc. That's possible too. I could see some issues. By cell, yeah. So yeah, that's another possibility, is to build a whole mesh out for one single mesh for the entire highlight. But you're right, with shaders that would cause issues, I imagine. Well, and yet still another way to do it is on the grid map itself, to simply propagate this down And then on the game in Singleton, we're only keeping track of the cursor position. Right. So there's no harm in doing that much. So what we'll do is we'll add a setter here. Oh, and you guys want to see something cool? Set get. Oh, look at that. Grid map. Type. Grid map. Look at that. Beautiful. So that is a, I wrote that for VS Code. That's, they call it a snippet. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And we'll get rid of this emit signal because we're not using that because it's not a resource. So now we have this grid map setter. And when we set the grid map, then we do this, but we change it a little bit. So instead of add highlights, we could call it update highlight array. And this is going to be part of a loop. Now we don't even need to pass this. And then we go for highlight position in grid map. And then we're just going to take all of this. And we need to have an array. So highlights array. We don't need to call it an array. Highlights array. And will be null at first. Is it an array? I don't know. Colin says, I wanted to create a small import tool to generate the highlight mesh during the import of the glib file. Or the glib file. I'll let you know how it goes. Yeah. I mean, because you could save it into, I mean, it could be a resource. Yeah, there's a ton of ways to do it. Is it an array or a dictionary? Because it could just be coordinates. And a dictionary would give us a key value set. So we'll do dictionary. And the value it returns is the reference to this. So our instance will be what we're setting to highlights. And do we have the plural of highlights in here anywhere else? No. Okay, so highlights and then highlight position equals the instance. So now we have an array. And then when we add the child, then we're just going to make the visible false. Is visible a thing with a spatial? I don't even know. Let's look up spatial. Oops, what happened? What did I do? Oh, did I just move this? How did I do that? No, I did. How did I do that? I don't even know. Pew. Pew. Let's look up spatial. And is it part of Node? It is part of Node, so visible should be a thing on it. Or not. Is node 2D. Okay, so is visible something? No, there it is. Bool. It's on. Okay. So highlight dot visible equals false. Okay. And I guess we can go like that. I'm going to space this out a little bit. So we're creating a new instance. We're setting it to not be visible, and we're adding it to the dictionary, and then adding it to the scene. Now, okay. Now, when we set the cursor position, we'll add a setter to this. So vec3. So var. So we'll do setGet cursor position. Type is a vector3. And we'll pull that down. So now when we set cursor position, and these are private, and this is probably going to end up being private too. So our method overrides are here. Then our comment private methods, and let's see, update highlight array will make you private, and then we'll make another comment, setters, and put you in here, and put this over here like that, and move you down here. Come on. And then put you below into the, okay. Put you in the privates. And then this will be public methods. Comment. Public methods. Okay. Okay. Instead of having a whole instance for the highlights, you could just have a function in the normal mesh instance that swaps the albedo color. A highlight material on the mesh, or even an extra surface. And would only have one mesh instance. Instead of having a whole instance for the highlights, you can just have a function in the normal mesh instance that just swaps out the albedo color. I think I follow you. You just have to call that function from the outside, and we'll only have one mesh instance. So are you following what I'm trying to do right now, though? Instead of having a whole instance for the highlights, you just have a function in the normal, and that's in quotes, mesh instance. I think I'm somewhat following. So think I follow what you're saying. But you're saying not creating a new one. I mean, just to change the appearance of the messages. Oh, I got you. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah, because if you do it in a function, then you could say, and that's great because, for instance, we're going to have the cursor highlight, and then we're going to have the like movement highlights, right? And then we're going to have the attack highlights as well. And so being able to just have a single function call where we say, like, you know, you're going to be this kind. I get what you're saying. Yeah, ultimately, if we could build it out as a single mesh, because Colin in the chat had also mentioned that for shaders and things like that, having multiple instances of a mesh and then applying a shader to it's going to might cause some weirdness. Whereas if it was a single mesh and then you apply a shader to that, you're going to get, like, it depends on what you're trying to do though. But if you want, like, I can see how that would be a problem unless it was a whole mesh of the highlighted space, if I'm making sense. I'm totally new. Like, all this 3D stuff is completely new to me. Okay, so we're building out, we've got our highlights that we built out into the dictionary of tons of instances of meshes. Or not, yeah. And then we've turned them to not be visible. And now when we move the cursor on the setter of the cursor, we're going to set that position to be visible. And we're going to turn off the prior position to be not visible. So we go and we say highlights, cursor position equals dot visible is now false. And then we say, we do it again because now we've set the cursor position to something else. And we set that visible to true. So now in theory, all we have to do is set our cursor position value in the game singleton, and that will highlight that space. However, we should also be a little bit careful here, and we should say if highlights has cursor position, just to be sure that that key exists in the dictionary. Whoops. There we go. And we'll do the same here. So now all we do is we just set the value of the cursor position, and then that'll happen. The initial function used in a single mesh instance per highlight, if I remember. The instance was added after to debug stuff. Yeah, you passed in your version. Yeah, for sure. In your version, you passed the instance of the mesh to the function call in the first place. So now I'm not doing that at all. I'm just building out an array. And that should fire. This is the one thing I haven't done. This should fire after we set the grid map value. So we just fire that function off to update the highlight array. I don't even know if this is going to work. So we're going to figure that part out too. Okay, so now we need to do this. So we need to set the cursor position for sure. So let's run the chooser again. Bleh, we're already crashing. Well, lines 177 down here. Grid map isn't a valid type. Oh, it's got to be capitalized. Which means I got it wrong up here too. Add highlight isn't declared in the current class. Game function line 78. Oh, it's not a thing anymore. So you're going to go bye-bye because the setter is going to handle that. And we need to use self for the setter to fire. And let's just double check to make sure we're not screwing that up somewhere else. Okay. So reload. There we go. Okay. So now the thing that we do need to do that we're not doing just yet is we need to put the cursor on the screen, which we haven't done. And that should we do? We don't want to do it on ready. So how should we do that? Oh yeah, it does help. No, it definitely helps. And I'm in no way am I gonna say, oh, I saw you followed me 2 days ago too. I must have missed it on the stream, but thanks for the follow. Yeah, in no way am I saying that I'm like some expert at any of this stuff either. Okay, so how are we going to... How about we do it when we set the grid map? No, that's not a good way to do it. We're going to do it from here. So we have this cursor position left over. So we'll do that. We'll do game.cursor position, and then we'll give it the starting position here. And see if it works. Nothing happens. That's not a good sign. Let's make sure the setter fires. What we're going to do is I'm going to set Battle Chooser as our default scene so I can more easily run game test area Battle Chooser. So I can test it in here. Although I do find my debugger is iffy in VS Code. It's not what you want, obviously. We'll see. Okay. Some sort of state error. Well, that's not a good thing. Why is it complaining about that, but not in here? Okay, fine. We're going to have to go back to our old friend print. Hello. And see. So the setter is firing. Let's check our array, our dictionary, sorry, of highlights when this fires. Does it exist yet? No. Okay. So that's part of our problem. So let's go back to, let's close that out here. Are we even giving it the grid map yet? See, this is, I'm not sure about some of this, about what I'm doing. Well, if we're going to set cursor position here, this is where we would pass the grid map. So why don't we do that here? So we go game, grid map equals grid map. We'll keep this separate from this clearly is together. Okay. All right, so we're getting somewhere. Now we're pooping out again. So let's go back over here. I've ripped and changed out so much so quickly that who knows what's going on. Unable to iterate an object of type object. Okay. We gotta get cells. So grid map get cells. Get used cells. Okay. So that was problem number 1. All right. Let's go back and try again. Okay, so now we're loading again. Let's print our grid map here and see if we have one now. Yeah, I did yesterday. I know, huh? Okay, so we have a grid map. So that's part of our problem. Okay, that's part of our problem. Let's check. Okay, so grid map exists. So now let's check our list of highlights. Okay, so we have a bunch of highlights. Ah. How about, just for fun, let's not set it to visible false. Yeah, after the stream yesterday. Whoa, what's that about? So we're not, this ain't looking right. What's going on? I bet we're reusing. Is that bad that it was yesterday? Highlight position, grid map, get use cells. I mean, our dictionary looks right, but why are we not if I do this, if I turn off visible false, then every single one, you know what it might be? Let's let me comment out this and still depends on how long you coded today. Just on the stream, so 2 hours and 10 minutes. What is our problem? We have new highlight position. And is there something that we're grabbing that's not, is being set somewhere else? Highlight mesh. No. Why? All right. How about we loop and for highlights. I'm doing it in the setter. This is funny. Or highlight in highlights. We're just going to print highlights and highlights visible just to make sure they're all visible. Oh. No, it is a spatial. Invalid get index visible on base vec 3. It would be highlights, highlight, visible, because we're dealing with a key value. They're all set to true. Why? Why are only 2 showing up? Cursor world position, which is just a calculation of. So we're not using cursor position in there at all, right? Please. No. This should be renamed. Um. Hmm. Where do I even begin? We. Is this going to be like a 2-day thing? I mean, once it's done, it's done. So there's that. I got that going for me, which is nice. I mean, we could print out the. I mean, what if we bumped this up just to make sure? Okay, so it's not it's not under the mesh. I can't help but feel like it might be that we're reusing a variable someplace where we shouldn't. Oh, of the printout? Or the game window? Oh, let me see. Oh, wow. I don't know what happened there. Golly. OBS. I try to do these smart scene switches and I'm thinking I'm just going to turn it off. You know what? I'm just going to turn it off. Tools. Let me turn off automatic scene switcher. Sorry. Stop. You're more trouble than you're worth, buddy. All right, so this is what's happening. Sorry about that. This whole time, what's been going on is I'm only seeing this strip of these two here getting highlighted. And so I've been checking the data and everything. They're all set to visible, and they all have unique positions. The spatial set in the proper locations, and yet for some reason these are the only ones that I can see being highlighted. So that's troublesome. That's what I'm looking at right now, trying to understand. So I disabled the highlighting. Oh, wait a minute. Set that to true. Hang on. Oh, it's still happening. So, I mean, if we do this to false, set the visible to false, now they're all going to be gone. The only two that we can actually see. The other ones aren't there. So, I mean, the cursor world position for all of these. There's some repeats. And the Y values, I see it. Look at this. We can see it here. What is going on? We're using get used cells. So hang on a second. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Hang on a second. Okay, so, okay. We're close. We're close. It is here. Highlight position Y. We want to use Z. That was it. Now, is there any other places where we're using highlight position Y? Everywhere. Okay. Because we're now using a vec3 for the whole thing. So all those instances of Y